Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Marcella yacht. We are moored here opposite the Radisson Blu Hotel in the wonderful Cannes. It is the Ad Festival, of course, it can be no other. I'm sitting here with Andy Hart, who is the Global CRO for Hearst. Andy, you've been here nearly 24 hours. How has your last day been in Cannes so far? What's happened?
Well, thank you for having me on your beautiful boat. What a lovely break to the hectic festival activities. So I flew in from City Airport.
Okay.
Managed to sit very close to John Hegarty on the plane. Had a little chat about the changing role of creativity. You know, the type of thing that you normally do on a Sunday afternoon.
Of course, while you're trying to avoid the rest of Father's Day.
I explained that to my son, but very nice card, in ink, on paper.
Oh,
how refreshing.
Very nice, I like that.
And then, it's great to be here as a publisher, as opposed to the last few years where we've come as a big, global platform provider. So it's interesting to get both perspectives. So we're really excited to be here. It's been a great 24 hours. Last night we had a fantastic dinner to celebrate Cosmo US with some really interesting guests. We had Brian from Airbnb, Shane from Vice, and then a little quick visit from Will Smith, who'd just come from the gym. And now I know that to get stacked like he does, you
Yes.
have to go to the gym.
Yes, absolutely.
What nice guys, all of them nice guys. It was really inspirational and an actual privilege, to kick the week off in such a esteemed company.
That's great, and still moving in those circles, because at Microsoft obviously used to have one of the most famed parties on the Croisette on a Wednesday or Thursday evening, didn't you? So can we expect Hearst to be walking down this path soon, or is Cosmo just the start of the Hearst dominance of Cannes and parties?
I think the reality is none of us can compete with the budgets of these huge global platforms, and we enjoy their hospitality. They're incredible partners for us. We're very, very pleased to be more intimate and do something that's a little bit more personal, which kind of reflects our brand too.
Yes.
When you start to think about how the changing relationship between Cosmo and her readers, Esquire and his readers, it's really about authentic connection.
Yep.
And I'm not sure big parties at Cannes are necessarily going to be our future.
Interesting. And publishing obviously has gone through a huge change over the last few years, and in particularly the model of an established publisher, if you like a legacy publisher, and that constant evolvement of a consumer every time, every day, every second they're looking at new platforms, new ways to receive information. How does a legacy publisher, I suppose, set itself up now to connect with the right consumers and engage with the right consumers in the right places these days?
It's a good question. I guess we should go and ask a legacy publisher.
Yes, indeed.
Because we don't see ourselves in that way. Look, the reality is when you look at the history of a company like Hearst that has amazing brands, for example, like Harper's Bazaar, which is 150 years old, it doesn't get through 3 centuries of change without having the ability to be nimble, to be agile, and to adapt to different contexts and different environments. And what we've shown for this next generation as we've adapted to digital, Hearst is as nimble and as agile as we've been in historically. You start to look at our 300 publications worldwide, 400 million users. The majority of our interaction now is digitally, and we've had to make a shift. We've had to make a change. That change is ongoing in how we adapt our publishing style. We used to be set up to publish in months, and now we're about moments and about seconds, which is a technology play, a data play, audience play, capabilities. We've got incredible new digital talents, and our traditional publishing skills are still the same. At the end of the day, in this new world, what you've called legacy is really about trusted publishers. And I don't know about you, but when I look around on these massive platforms, which I know I'm just as addicted to as many other people, the quality of what I find and the veracity of what I read, comes into question. And there's so many times a day I kick myself for wasting time in engaging in content that isn't original. I've seen that before 100 times, or do I really believe that? But our role as a editorially led publisher is to cut through that and to start delivering high quality content in any format that's required, whether that's video or animation, whether that's a partnership with Snapchat or Facebook or Weibo or WeChat, wherever we are in the world. We'll take the trusted content in the right format to the consumer. And I think that's the big change for us, which is whereas we always looked for the consumer to come and get us, they had to come to the newsstand, or maybe we would, as subscribers would get the magazine through their doors. Now we need to fragment our content and take it to them. And that took us a little while to get used to, but now it really excites us, because when you look at the feedback that you get to our editors instantly on articles, on content, we've got a great tool called social buzzing, which enables the editors to know what's hot and what's not. We can adapt and grow very, very quickly and play an even more important role in consumers' lives, because as you keep calling us a legacy publisher, as a publisher of original content, we have a responsibility. And for me, there's two levels to that. One is the trusted nature of our editorial product, and two, our purpose. And one thing that Hearst has always done has been in the business of giving people the confidence to live the lives they want to live. It's a complex world. There's so much choice. In fact, that choice makes it, very difficult for some people to even move. We give them advice, whether it's about boyfriend or styles, your homeware, your travels, what to wear, what to look, who to be friendly with, how to make love. We help people make the right choices for themselves, and you can give that advice on any platform, and that's how we're adapting.
And it's interesting. Does that involve you actively seeking partnerships with some of these platforms? More of that. We see more of a collaboration piece now, rather than kind of being very separate. It's actually quite nice, I presume, to partner up with some of these platforms.
All of the big platforms, come to us, and we're very deeply engaged at the global level and the local level with the biggest platforms. Be that Tencent and WeChat or Facebook or Snapchat. If you take Snapchat, for example, when you look at the Discovery Channel, certainly in the US, you look at Cosmo, we've got an incredible product there with 7 million users. You look at the same in the UK, we've got 1 million daily users where, 5 out of 7 days, the reader uses the product from beginning to end. That can only work through deep collaboration. In fact, the Snapchat partnership is so deep that we have a joint venture together called Sweet, SWEET, and it is Sweet. If you go on your Discover channel, you'll see that's a Snapchat-only magazine published between Hearst and Snapchat. And we plan to do more and more of these integrated partnerships across the world, because at the end of the day, we know how to talk to our audience, we know how to write for them, and that gives us permission to move into the new, and I guess the hottest topic that we're getting around Cannes, which is what is next gen branded content? What is the crossover between editorial and advertising? When does a brand have permission to provide entertainment or information? And I think that with the platforms that we've got, the brands that we've got, and the trust that we've got, we have the gateway to help brands step over that divide between traditional advertising, in banners, in buttons, in double page spreads, and what I guess is called native, which is the permission-based, editorially led product which allows a brand to share its information in a more authentic and integrated way. And the trust that our consumers have of our editors and the standards that we maintain, certainly around our branded content offer, allows us to do things that, let's say, big global platforms only dream of.
Yes, indeed. And that's an interesting point. 2 points you bring up there. One is obviously you've had to change in terms of some of the talent, obviously, to give them that technological background to allow them to do that. One of the other key things when it comes to native content, how difficult a piece has it been to sell into the traditional editorial church and state scenario that lived there, and actually kind of getting those editorial people on board to help because they'll be the best people to help with the load of native content, wouldn't they? How difficult has that been to do that internally? Have you found that forthcoming from the teams you've got?
So, I mean, it is the question. And it's very different in different markets. Certainly when you go into Asia, there's a big history of advertorial and editorial. So it's quite easy to make the step across to productize that service rather than just a deep relationships. I think also that the really symbiotic relationship that you have in fashion, beauty and luxury between the brands, which are the advertisers, and the editors is so deeply ingrained that there is a level of trust which has enabled us to move much quicker than other media. So that church and state, as you call it, is not as clear cut as, say, when I worked in newspapers, where let's say the creative challenge was between the two competing fields.
Yeah.
Certainly in traditional premium consumer platforms, we have a much more integrated approach. That actually hasn't been a problem, but I think we solve for that because we set such high editorial standards. And once you're very clear on what those editorial standards are, as long as your native branded content, advertorial, whatever you want to call it, is above that bar, why wouldn't the editor want to support it?
Yes.
Why wouldn't the editor want to be part of writing that? So we've become very good and an incredible machine at delivering both the branded content solutions, but also the creative solutions. Because what we're finding in this fragmented world is it's all very well going onto a programmatic platform, buying your audience and maybe some form of contents and trying to get it for the lowest price. But what ad are you going to run? What message are you going to run? The reality is, when you are communicating to an Esquire reader, a Harper's Bazaar reader, a Cosmo reader, or a Good Housekeeping reader, no one knows how to better communicate to them than the editors. No one knows how to better talk to them or build brand relationships with them than our creative solutions department. And our role in this new world is to do two things. Is one, craft effective communications over time to help our consumers make great choices. Two is to guide our brand partners in how to best speak to those consumers. And that partnership is very, very deep, and something we've become very good at in print, obviously, online, mobile, on social platforms, and of course the other very big advancement is live.
Yes.
And we're starting to see more and more demand for authentic live experiences. And I think that's bled down from luxury through fashion into lifestyle. That in this digitally distracted world, consumers want to have some form of hands-on, authentic, connected experience. And that's a very big growth area for us in Hearst Live.
Okay, interesting. And obviously one of the key things, obviously going from print into digital, into the different platforms, it's partnering up with social platforms. Is there now, it's a lot harder work than it used to be, I think, isn't it? In publishing is one thing. There's a lot more work involved. Are we starting to now see the rewards from a commercial perspective? Are we like, actually, this deal here is kind of really it's a lot of work and it's a lot of labour, but actually the rewards now commercially are greater?
So it's very different in different markets. Certainly in those large markets where we've got huge scale, it's much easier to be able to work across the platforms. In the smaller markets, the effort reward ratio is the same, but the costs are much lower. So trying to build the capacity is much harder. So as we go through this sort of mid-state, as the industry starts to accept branded content, multi-platform 360, the investment that's required to deliver high standards across all those areas is actually going to wash out some of the smaller players, and unfortunately we're seeing a lot of that. So for the bigger players, even though making high enough margins to make everyone smile in those smaller countries is tougher, we can actually see it growing very, very quickly. In the big markets, we're there. We're in the mainstream market and starting to enjoy the benefits.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know you are expanding from a global perspective into all your partnerships. I know I was recently down in Mexico and with the guys from Televisa, and they said they were working hard with you guys. That must be quite exciting, and again a very different market. But are there kind of some growth markets that you guys are certainly looking at and kind of looking out into the future and thinking actually next 6-12 months would really like to kind of move into those geographical markets?
Oh, absolutely. So we've got a very good stronghold in Asia, and we're doing some very interesting things. So all of our main launches in recent times have been digital first. So when you start to look at Cosmo Japan or Cosmo Nigeria, you start to see that this is a digital only product. We may consider to build print and live and other platforms in and around that, but we will be digital first. And as we go around the world, filling in the gaps around the 83 countries that we've got in our key product set, make sure that we've got good global coverage, is an interesting priority. We've just signed a very cool licensee agreement in India, where we see incredible growth there. The Middle East is quite an interesting area. Obviously, it's very varied, but some of those markets, there's a lot of money, and certainly our Harper's Bazaar, our luxury title, and Elle, our fashion titles are starting to do some very interesting work in those areas. Africa's going to be an area for the future. We're keeping an eye on it, and we're testing a number of opportunities there. And South America is just teetering on enormous.
Yes.
But we need to be patient, because the world economy is quite volatile at the moment. And the uncertainty means that some of those markets that we thought were going to be really exciting may take a little longer to grow. But above all, our job is to go where the consumers need us, and we're very clear on what our brands stand for. We've got a huge history of success in what you call legacy publishing.
Yes.
For me, as you know, I'm challenging you on that.
It's good.
Digital, social, taking the content to where the consumers are is just part of that growing up process.
Absolutely.
So the core heart of what we are remains. And as I say to a lot of people, the grandmas that used to read Cosmo, the issues that she went through as a 20-something, 30-something woman, inside her are still the same. The context of the world may be different. She may have her job might have been a homemaker rather than a businesswoman. She still had boyfriend problems. She still wouldn't know what to wear and how to look good and where to go. Those are the same issues that a Cosmo woman has today, and the Cosmo woman of today, her grandchildren, will have those same issues, and we'll be there to support her, whether that's in print or digital or something that we haven't even thought of. Holograms, VR, AR, doesn't matter. We're set up to continue our history in the future.
And also in a wonderful place, because bizarrely, and we both come from a content background as well in that sense, I find it bizarre that so many people are talking content. Oh my gosh, it's the way forward. So from a brand perspective, every brand now decides that they are a content producer, and they're producing content, which they are. However, not all of them are curators and distributors. So it puts Hearst into a very good position in that actually you are on hand to say, well, actually, yes, we can take your content, we can package it, we can deliver it, and we can ensure that it goes to the right people at the right time. Was that fair to say? Are you in a good place at this present moment?
I think you've nailed it. Anyone can put on a pair of football boots and kick a football around, but you and I are sitting in Cannes and we're not playing at Euro 2016.
Yes. Probably because we're old as well.
Well, I certainly am. So the reality is, and anyone can call themselves a content provider, but actually cutting through, is really, really very hard and takes great skill. So of course that puts us into a fantastic position. And the reality is, we all know this. You scroll through your favourite social network. What makes you stop and engage? It's high quality content, it's brands that you recognise, brands that you trust, brands that continue to deliver every time. And that's where, when you look at the partnerships that we have on social media, when a brand works with our branded content solutions, they get up to 25 times the engagement of trying to do it themselves. And that's an enormous difference. And at first I was a bit shocked when I saw that data, but actually it's the bleeding obvious is that what makes you stop and engage? Trusted brands and media brands, what you called legacy brands. Yes. Thanks for that.
Okay. I'm liking media brands. We can go with that. That's good.
Traditional media brands, have the credibility to cut through, and that's why we're really excited about the future.
Brilliant. I think it's great. And I suppose talking of the future, what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges for Hearst in particular over the next 6 to 12 months? What are you most fearful of? We've obviously got ad blocking out there, which is a pain. But then that, I suppose, falls down, in my opinion, to it's a great opportunity for the industry to say, well, actually, they're being blocked because they don't like the creativity or they don't like the content, which we've talked about, is not engaging enough. So how do you guys face an issue like that? What do you do? What's your answer to ad blocking?
Well, we're very lucky, because actually if you look at the stats of our ad blocking or number of people that are blocking us, it's actually very, very low by industry standards, surprisingly low. And I think that comes down to 3 or 4 things. One, the operating system that we built ourselves does a couple of things. One, it provides a very entertaining, rich environment where the ads are a very important part of the experience, in the same ways that we build our magazines. the ads are an important part of the content. You know, when you sit down for that personal experience that a magazine gives you, you know, the build-up is that bank of beautifully crafted, artistic brand ads from, you know, the biggest and most famous brands in the world. So the permission to put display advertising into our content is there, is implicit. So it's, you know, unlikely that we're going to be blocked, or less likely than others. Number two, we've been very smart in the way that we built our operating system, is that we have something called shared spaces, which allows the spaces on our site to either be editorial native branded content, or advertising, which does make it a little bit difficult for the ad blockers to understand what's going on. So on the first point is, it actually hasn't been a big issue for us. For me, the more frightening issue is the one that you touched on, which is ad blindness.
Right.
I think that we are, and I've been saying this for years, you know, just as an industry, producing just far too many points of impact, and therefore the marginal, you know, effectiveness of another ad, another commercial opportunity is hurting the overall industry. There's only so much information a human brain can take that's meaningful. You know, how many commercial messages do we need to push on them? So I'm concerned more about the decreasing effectiveness of each individual ad. Saying that, I think it is the huge bigger platforms that have got the bigger problem than the beautiful crafted contextual environments like premium consumer media. Secondly, I think that once you get over the ad blindness, once you get over the fact that consumers are saying, I don't really want to look at this little brand ad, you get into the world again of what we talked about, which is branded content. And if this is crafted to the standard, as we've said, or better than traditional editorial, it's entertaining, it's informative, it's useful, then consumers are going to engage. So I think we're at a very interesting crossroads.
There's a few events. I'm sure you've got a diary packed full of meetings. What are you most looking forward to about Cannes this week?
Well, I think there's sort of two major objectives. One is to spend quality time with my global customers. Got a really packed agenda of shared experiences, talking about business, setting ourselves up for a great year ahead, and making sure that my feet are still on the ground by the end of the week, so I haven't drunk too much rosé, that when I get to Glastonbury I can still be standing up for the event.
Excellent. A little bit of a culture shock there. I saw some pictures this morning of one of the workers down there had taken a Instagram video of the rain. I think there was a bit of rain there already, so hopefully, I have seen the forecast, it does look like it's going to dry out by Thursday.
From your mouths to God's ears. But you know what? It's all part of the fun, and as long as you're prepared,
yes,
it's not a problem.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Andy.
Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.